Hello YouTube, this is Alan Jeremy from Deflex Incorporated, and today I'll be showing you how to model barrels just like the ones you can see in this image. So this is basically just going to be a very simple modeling exercise as well as a simple texturing exercise. So first of all, open up Blender, then press X to delete the default cube, and Shift A to add a new mesh, then add a cylinder. Then press T to open up this tool menu. Then change the number of vertices to 16. By default it is 32. Then change the cup fill type from n-gon to nothing. So now we basically have a starting point for our modeling exercise, and we can press Tab to go into edit mode and Control R to add a loop cut. Then go into orthographic view, then front view, press Z to go into wireframe mode, and B to put a select. Then highlight these lower vertices and press X to delete, then delete vertices. Then go to the modifiers panel and add a mirror modifier. Change the axis from X to Z so that we have this mirrored on the Z axis. Then make sure you have the clipping selected, and select this loop by pressing Alt and right clicking, and drag this down to make sure that the vertices are stuck together. Then now we can begin our exercise. So first of all, we're going to load in some reference images, and actually just one reference image just to guide us. And before we continue, let's just do that, and I'm going to drag this over to open a new tab or window. Then change this to UV image editor, then image, open image. Then I will go to where I have my image, and here it is. So that's basically it. So as you can see in this image, this barrel is vertically mirrored. For example, the top side is basically just the same as the lower side. The only difference perhaps is the wood, and we'll just texture it using a certain texture. I downloaded from CG Textures for free. So basically it's vertically mirrored, and that means that we can use the mirror modifier so that we can make our work much easier with less errors, and also to save on time. So here's our image, and now we can press Z to go back into solid view, or solid mode, sorry. Then tab to go into edit mode, Control R to add a loop cut, and this is going to be our top ring, this metallic part here. Then we're going to select both of them. We're going to select both of these loops, and we're going to drag them up until we have the height of our cylinder, sorry, barrel, and that looks just about okay to me. So once we have that, we can add another loop cut here, and this is going to be the gap in between this one. Then we can drag this up just a bit, and we can add another loop cut for this other metallic part. Then we can add two more loop cuts, and this is going to be this space in between these two, and the last loop cut is going to be the lower part of this metallic part. So we're going to make that around there, and now we can select this top loop and this lower loop just beneath it, and press E to extrude, then scale it by about 1.0 0.01 or something. Yeah, that looks okay. It's a little bit too thin, so I'll scale it by 1.05. Yeah, that looks okay. Then you can select this loop by pressing Alt and right clicking, and select the one just below it too by holding Shift down. Then press E to extrude and repeat the process. Scale by 1 point. This time I'm going to make it slightly smaller, 0.25. Then we can also select this loop, this one, and E to extrude, then scale it by 1.025. Then now we can see at the center we actually have the barrel bulging out. So we are going to go into front view and select this center loop, and we're going to scale, and we're going to add proportional editing by pressing O, or by going here. Then we're going to scale this to somewhere around there, and that looks just about okay. Then you can scale this on the Z-axis slightly, and now you can see that it's beginning to take shape. Then we select this inner loop at the top and E to extrude, then scale it. Before you continue, turn off proportional editing, then scale it in and move it slightly down. Doesn't make much of a difference, but anyway, just redo the process and create something like this. And select this two loops and press O to go back to proportional editing and move this down. Slightly, then add another loop cut here to allow you to actually move it down more smoothly, like so. Okay, that's a little bit too off. And to get an idea of how it will look when we render it, for our final render, we just select smooth shading and check how it looks, and that's not too bad, but this needs to be scaled up a bit, and that looks okay to me. Yeah, so basically the modeling part of this exercise is almost over, and all you need to do now is get rid of the strangles. So I'm going to delete them and replace them with quads, just because I find quads to give you better geometry, especially during rendering. So I'm just deleting this by selecting two sets of triangles, then pressing X to delete, and then selecting the vertices and pressing F to fill in a face in between the 4 vertices, creating a quad. Then I'm just going to do this for all of them. And remember, whatever we do here is being mirrored at the bottom, so this saves us a lot of time. Oops. And that's the last one. Yeah, so now we have our basic barrel. And I think for now we can say that the modeling side of this is actually done. So press Shift D to duplicate, then move the duplicate to a dormant layer, and I just usually do that because if you need to fix something and you have not saved a copy, well, you might just not be able to do it depending on how many changes you have made to the object. So now we can apply this mirror modifier to the original, and we can move on to giving this metallic parts their own material. At the same time, we give this wooden part its own material. So we can do that by, now we can close this reference image, by the way. Right click, join area, then drag that. Then now we can do this by selecting this loop, and since it is a loop of faces, then we can select it XO, then go to the materials panel, add a new material, and by default it is assigned to the entire mesh, so we're going to call this wood because it is actually the material that occupies the larger portion of the entire mesh. Just wood. Then we are going to add a new material, and we're going to call it metal. Go to vertex select mode. Then we're going to select these 2 loops and make sure we have the entire metal selected. And that's the first one, so we can click the sign. Then we can also select this other one. Assign, and just to make it so that we can actually see what we're doing, we can darken this a bit. Then next we can select this. It's being stubborn. We can select this loop. Yeah, like that. Then click on metal, assign, then select this other group, metal, assign. And by the way, I just noticed that we could have done this in an easier way if we actually apply the materials while using the mirror modifier. But anyway, for the sake of this tutorial, I'll just show you the longer alternative. So select this metallic part, click on metal, assign. Then we can also do the same for this last one, and yeah, click on metal, assign. So now you can see we have the basic material setup for our barrel, and if we render this right now, it won't look so appealing. But it does somehow look like a barrel. So we're going to use very simple texturing techniques, and this tutorial is basically just for beginners, other than the shortcuts, which again I just prefer to use because it makes work faster and easier. That's why I prefer to use the shortcuts. But anyway, we can change from here to UV editing. Then we can open up our texture, image, open image, and our texture is under here, and it's this plank texture. I just downloaded this off CG Textures, so you can just use this as your wooden part texture, and we are going to basically just press tab to go into edit mode and turn this off so that you do not see through the mesh. Then you can change to face select mode, select on face, and select material, select material slot, and this just basically just selects all the material slots, all the faces that have similar materials. And since we're going to be using a slightly different unwrapping method for the top and the bottom, we're going to deselect them. And now we're going to press U to unwrap this, but we're going to choose cylinder projection, because if you unwrap normally, then you'll get this weird circular things, and basically your texture will just look very, very bad, and that's not what we want to happen. So first of all, go back into object mode, press Ctrl A, then apply scale, then go back to edit mode by pressing tab, and U unwrap cylinder projection, and that's looking okay. So now we can change this to textured or texture viewport shading so that we can actually see our texture. And just around there it looks right. Yeah, so all we had to do was actually just scale this so that it gives us the desired plank size that we want for our barrel, and we just got that. Then the next thing we're going to do is unwrap the top and the bottom. We're going to go back to solid, then top view, C, press C to open up this circular brush thing, then select all the wooden parts, then go to the bottom and do the same, C, then you can deselect the faces that you did not intend to select by using the middle mouse button. Make sure you have all the faces selected, and now we can press U to unwrap, and you can see it has unwrapped them as circular objects, which is exactly what they are. And now we can select the texture from here, and we can go back to texture viewport shading, and before we continue we can change this to a sun lamp so that we have better lighting. And you can just drag this over and open the UV image editor, select the barrel, go into edit mode and open the blank texture. Then we need to rotate this. Let's see. Now we need to rotate this so that it does somehow fit in. With the rest of the texture, and we need to scale this up. No, maybe that's too much. Down a bit. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you should just try and make it align itself with the rest of the mesh as much as possible. For example, I am quite comfortable with this. Maybe just a little bit more of rotation, and yeah, that's it. So now the next thing we need to do is create a good lighting system for our rendering, and we're going to rotate this at sun lamp that we've created a duplicate from, and make it face the other direction. Then we're going to reduce its energy to about 0.4, just so that the one at the back actually appears as the primary source of light. Then we're going to change this to a slightly yellow color, and we're going to do the same with this. Then we're going to duplicate this once again, then clear the rotation by pressing Alt R. Go to top view, move this to just above the top, and give this an energy of about 0.25. Then change this color to a slightly bluish color. That's just to fake the illusion of having a sky. Then we are going to press Shift A to add a plane. This is going to, Shift S first of all, cursor to center, then Shift A, add a plane, and scale it by about 8 so that it fits the grid. And I think we should reduce this 0.1, and also reduce this slightly. Then now we can set our camera. Sorry, by the way, if my speech is blurred, because it's been long since I made a tutorial and I'm just trying to refresh my memory, I guess. Yeah, so that's it for the metallic part. We're just going to press tab to go into edit mode, then press select one of the materials for the metallic part, then select material slot, and we're just going to unwrap this. And since this is not going to actually be a very consistent image, we're just going to open the image, and where did I save it? Yeah, that's it. We're just going to open the texture and scale it way up by about maybe 20, so that it gives this illusion of metal. And yeah, that's it. Maybe I can scale it up just a bit more, scale by 2 now, and that looks okay to me. So now if we render this, we will still actually get what we had initially, and that's because we have not given these textures to the materials. So we're going to add 2 textures, and this is going to be wood and metal. We are going to change both of this to image or movie, then select the texture that applies. Wait, sorry about that. This is the metal material, so we give it the metal texture, so make sure you don't make that mistake. Then you open up the image and choose the metal. Now if you look here, it looks like it's been textured okay. I hope that's grammatically correct, but anyway, it is not. So change the mapping from generated to UV. Now it's mapped according to how we did it in our UV unwrapping. So that's taken care of. Then now select the wood material and go to the textures panel, add a texture, image or movie, then choose the wood texture and again change the mapping from generated to UV. Then we need to turn the specularity down, so I'm going to put this to about 0.1 for both of them. And now when you render it, you should see exactly what you expect. So go to camera view and press F12 to render, and there you have your barrel, and it's quite low poly. As you can see, it has 497 faces, and maybe you can use this as a valuable game asset if you're creating a game. And so that's it for this tutorial. To save this image, you can click or press F3, then you can save it wherever you want to save it. And I'm going to save this as maybe barrel. Save as image, and that's it. You're good to go.